now it's time to talk about The Dentist 2. I talked about the first one last week. The Dentist 2, Brace Yourself. Do it yourself, braces, I guess. Interesting subtitle. Now, this one takes place probably within a few months, a year after the first one. I don't think they even say, but sometime soon after the first one. And he breaks out of the asylum quite easily, I must say, and then he just starts a new life, new identity, everything. Starts a new office, falls in love once again, and then his jealousy puts him in a rage once more. He starts killing his patients or fucking with their teeth. And we basically get the same movie that we got in the first one, except a little bit more hammy in some scenes. Things are a lot more silly in this movie than the first one. And we got a whole new writer for this one. I'm not sure who the writer is. Richard Smith. But it's directed by Brian Yuzna, once again, just like part one. And let's talk about it. The things I like about this one is, once again, I really like Corbin Bernsen as the dentist, Dr. Feinstone. Or in this one as Dr. Caine, Dr. Nova Caine. Bad joke. So, yeah, in this one, he's a lot more silly. He hams it up in some scenes. He's maniacal. He's laughing, rubbing blood in his face. And then the very end scene, he's extremely over the top silly. I'm not a fan of that scene. I feel like it just goes a little too far. It goes a little too far in this movie in some scenes, but I like his performance once again as the dentist, and I like that they kind of make him a little bit more sympathetic in this movie, because he's having a struggle internally. He's trying to fight this evil side of him. He's cutting himself now. He's trying to hurt himself so he won't have to hurt other people, and make those evil urges go away. And I like that. It makes him a little bit more interesting and a little bit more sympathetic, because that he doesn't want to do it. So I like that. I like that they threw that in here. And this one's much more disgusting and much more cringe-inducing than the first one. It makes you wince quite a bit. There's a lot of good teeth and tongue horror in this movie. Pus coming out of teeth. There's a lot more bloody, gruesome moments in this movie. So if you're looking for that you got in the first movie, you're going to get a lot more of it in this one. As for any negatives, I just feel like this sequel is unnecessary, and it's just very redundant and repetitive of the first one. It just feels like the same movie, but just not as well written. I don't know, the relationship between him and the landlady at first just kind of feels forced. He meets this bank guy, and he's like, "Oh, here's my niece. You should go live with her." You just met this guy, and you're like, "Oh, go live with my niece in her cottage." And yeah, I don't know. The writing isn't as good in this one. The whole breakout in the opening, it's just he has someone at knife point, and then hard cut, he's out. Once again, just like the first movie, he goes into a jealous rage, and he starts taking it out on his patients, and his patients are trying to blackmail him again. They know who he is. They know his dirty secret, and it's just again and again and again. The scenes just rinse and repeat. It's just the same scene almost again and again and again. In this movie, unlike the first one, I just was not satisfied with the climax. It does not have a satisfying resolution, and the very end scene I just thought was a little too much. So final thoughts, I think this movie is still okay. It's enjoyable. It's kind of slow also, just like part one. In some moments it can drag a little bit, but once again, I like Corbin Bernsen as the dentist in this movie, and I like some of the effects in the movie. They really are effective, and they're bloody, and they're disgusting, and they make you look away. And I think it's an okay sequel, but it just feels unnecessary, and it's just too repetitive, so I won't give it that high of a recommendation. But if you like the first one, I think you'll like this one, but just lower your expectations and expect a lot of the same. So when it comes to The Dentist Part 2, brace yourself. Consider streaming this, borrowing it from a friend, or renting it at Redbox. So in the opening here, he has this appointment with his psychiatrist. He's at the asylum, and he's talking about the things that he did in the first movie. And then we see that in his leg, he stitched himself some kind of weapon inside his leg, and he just digs it out as he's talking to her, and then he just puts it to her neck, and then he's like, we're getting out of here, get me out of here, and then hard cut, he's just driving down the road, and now he's gone. Like, really? Come on. Like, that's lazy. It's just like, we're not even going to explain it and show how exactly he went about doing it. He just did it. He's successful, you know? So yeah, he just somehow broke out, and then he somehow gets the keys to his security deposit box. He just goes to, apparently he just has fake IDs and like, get out of jail free cards. Like, he's got this escape plan. It's almost like in the first movie, he was planning on this happening at some point before he ever really snapped. Like, he had this already planned out. Like, he already had a brand new birth certificate and a brand new social security and identity in all these different locations. Like, he seems to have like these, he has all these postcards from different places he's been, and apparently he's got like security deposit boxes at all of them, or just the one he goes to in this movie in Missouri. I don't know, but it's like, that just seems convenient for the plot. Like, oh, he had this planned out already. I don't think he was planning on losing his mind in the first movie. It just kind of happened. I don't know. But he just goes there and he's like, hey, I don't have a key to my security deposit box, but could you just give it to me? And then they just give it to him. Is that how it works? You just like, give it to me. Like, I don't have a key. I don't have any ID. I'm not going to show you who I am. Because if he did, they would probably find out like he's an escaped mental patient. I don't know. Like, he just goes there, like, give it to me. And they just give it to him. And then he's like, hey, go sleep with my niece. Go sleep at her place. And like, what? And then I love that he's like critiquing this, this dentist there. It's like the small town, and they only have like one dentist, and he's terrible. He's like critiquing his workspace and his hygiene, how he does business. He's got like all these old magazines from like over a decade ago. He's just a poor dentist. And we find out that Dr. Feinstone, I guess, doesn't really practice what he preaches so much, because he's got some bad teeth himself. He doesn't have a perfect smile. He's got a cap on one of his teeth. One of his teeth is rotted, so he's got like the cap on it to make it look like a normal tooth. And it falls off, and he has to go get it put back on, but the guy doesn't do it good, so he gets really pissed off. He goes there, he just kills him, he pushes him down the stairs, and then he just takes over his office, like, immediately. And the people under the stairs lady, who is like the front desk lady, doesn't ever suspect him. Like, she saw how weird he was the day before, or the day of. And then she just is like, all right, you're my new boss now. I don't think you were responsible for this guy. They just think he fell down the stairs on his own. It was an accident. Meanwhile, while he's living a new life in Missouri, his ex-wife in California, she hires a PI. She hands him all these postcards of different cities that he's vacationed at before. And one of those postcards just so happens to be where he went. So he's predictable, I guess. She knew that he would go to one of those places. So the PI eventually does get to Missouri. He finds that he's there and then tells her about it. So she goes to get revenge. And she's got all her teeth back in, so she bought a brand new smile. But she can't buy a new tongue. That's irreplaceable. And so this movie, because it has Alan Howarth doing the music, he actually takes jump up scare sounds from Halloween 2 specifically. That sound, especially when like he puts the needle in Janet, I think that's her name, when he puts the needle in her head, or when he like jumps up and stabs that girl in the beginning, that sound effect, it's in this movie. And every time I heard it, I would just think of those scenes in Halloween 2. So unlike in the first one where he just saw like nasty teeth, in this one, he doesn't just see nasty teeth, he sees cavities as cockroaches just crawling around in people's mouths. So he's gotten even more insane. Like, it gets to the point where he doesn't even know where he is. Like, his surroundings change around him. He doesn't even see what's really there, and he's just fucking nuts in this one. Clint Howard makes a cameo here, and he's just talking, and talks too much, and he puts an end to that. He has like a tooth in his mouth that's like rotted, and when he pokes at it, it like pops, it like erupts with all kinds of pus just shooting out of it. It made me want to vomit. And it made me want to vomit even more knowing that he just like swallowed it afterwards. Like he the pus comes out of his tooth and he never spits it out. He just keeps talking and I'm assuming that he swallowed all that pus in his mouth. Oh, and he's in the bathtub at one point. He's just like screaming at himself, like, I'm not crazy, I'm not nuts. Like he's really fighting to, keep his sanity. He wants to live a normal life, but he just can't. He's gone off the deep end. There's no going back. He needs medication. He needs help. And it seems like this that kind of make him sympathetic, but then he starts doing crazy shit later on. You're like, I'm not so sorry for you anymore. I did think it was kind of convenient that the one guy in town that pissed him off and was honking at him in traffic just so happens to be the one guy in town that's in love with his new girlfriend. So it's a small town, so I guess the odds are there. I mean, it's possible, but it's just another one of those little plot conveniences. Like, really? That guy? Just so happens to be that guy. It could have been any other random asshole honking at him, but it's that guy, and he bumps into him later, and he almost shoots him with a nail gun, and he's not nowhere near as pissed off as he should be. Like, I would be so furious. Like, you almost just fucking killed me all because you were curious to see if it was loaded. Like, of course it's loaded. I was just using it, and you were bitching at me, like, stop using the nail gun. I'm with a patient. And then you're like, really? You're just going to pull the trigger and be like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think it was loaded. It's like, of course it was loaded, you fucking moron. Like, he should have beat his ass right then and there. And then they do get in a scuffle later, and I thought it was kind of unbelievable that he would lose that fight. I mean, he seems bigger. He's got all these tools on him. I thought he would win that fight, but he doesn't. He gets the hatchet right in the back, and then the hatchet to the back of the head, and he starts fucking this one girl's mouth up so bad. This poor girl gets it the worst. So he's playing this fucked up game of truth or tooth, and he like drills a hole into one of her molars so deep that he exposes like a nerve, and if you just tap it with the little pin or whatever, it's excruciating. And oh, he starts like tapping it. He puts the fucking like whatever it's called, the hook thing, those little things I forget the name for them. He's like poking at it. I could not imagine how much pain she's going at. But then he takes it one step further. He takes like the drill thing and he's destroying like all her molars. And then he starts like digging the drill into her mouth, into her gums even more. And then he does it so hard that it gets stuck in her gums where her molars used to be. And he's like, it's fucking stuck. I'm going to have to cut it out of there. And then we see her body later on. And he's basically carved a smile on her face. Like all her flesh around her mouth is just like torn apart. And oh, poor lady. But yeah, she kind of asked for it. She was trying to expose him. She was going to reveal his dirty little secret. And she paid the price. I was surprised that the front desk lady did not quit. I mean, he is abusing her. Like, he is throwing magazines at her face, like a dozen of them. And she still shows up to work by the end of the movie to throw a surprise party for this asshole. And she's like all excited there. She's like, I got new magazines. They're new editions. Aren't you happy? Did I make you proud? Like, she's like trying to get his love and acceptance and like make him proud. And like, fuck this guy. He threw all kinds of magazines at you. Like, I would quit in that situation. Like, fuck you. I deserve better than this. I don't know. I guess I got too much pride. But this chick, I'm surprised she stuck around. And why are they throwing the surprise party down there? Because it just said, like, to the best dentist in town. That ain't true. But seriously, like, they're throwing a surprise party down there, and they don't hear the struggle going on upstairs. There's, like, 2 women attacking him, and he's just, like, throwing them around. There's nail guns going off and shit. They don't hear anything going on. But yeah, he's lost it. He doesn't even know the difference between his new girlfriend and his old girlfriend. And she's like trying to snip his tongue off to get revenge. But then the new girlfriend stops her, but then learns that she should have not done that. And it kind of plays out like a slasher movie almost. We get like a final chase through the house, and I like this scene. He like breaks through the window and shit. And it's very intense, but then it just kind of falls flat in the end. I don't like the way it all wrapped up. Like he just gets away. Very lackluster. He just walks out the front door after falling on top of his new girlfriend, who was like shooting the nail gun at him, and you're like, did it go off? Was it empty? Was it plugged in? But yeah, it was plugged in. We see him driving his car, and he looks like Pinhead from Hellraiser. He's got all these pins, nails in his face. Those nails would kill you, I'm pretty sure. I mean, in Final Destination 3, they go all the way through your fucking skull. I mean, I'm sure that's the polar opposite. In this one, they're weak. They don't really go that far in your face. And then in Final Destination 3, they go through your face and out your arm, too, at the same time. They're very long, I guess. I don't know. Which one's more realistic? I've never tried it. But I would think it would kill him. I mean, they're all in his forehead, too. None of them, hit his brain. How long are the nails? They're not that long. I mean, he pulls one out, and they're, that long. They're pretty long, so that's all it would take to hit your brain. I think he would die. But you can't take it that seriously. I guess you can't put much logic into it. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this end scene was just really stupid. So that's just my thoughts on it. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on The Dentist 2. What did you think about it? Is it better than the first one? Which one do you like more? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.